Welcome to the Real Conversations podcast, the podcast dedicated to real stories from successful real estate professionals with your host, Dan Edwards.
Welcome to Real Conversations. I am joined by Haniel Massoud. Haniel is an agent here at Keller Williams Bothell. I've known Haniel for probably 8 years. I feel like it's been a while.
Accurate.
Yeah. And we're going to have a conversation, and I get to lead the conversation. Welcome to the podcast, Haniel.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
All right. We were talking earlier that I need Haniel to use his NPR voice.
Yeah. This is different, so we will work on it.
There you go. Okay. All right. So Haniel, let's start out with, tell me about the home you grew up in. That was a total curveball. You're like, wait, I didn't know you were going to ask me that.
Yeah.
So tell me about the home you grew up in.
I grew up in Mount Lake Terrace, actually, and off of 58th Avenue. So it was a little rambler. And I had a converted garage. That was my bedroom, but
That
it
was
was
your bedroom.
awesome. I loved it because
Yeah.
it was huge, and I had a great little space. But I love the community there, and I love the area. Still love that area. So
Okay. So holidays, were holidays big gatherings at your house?
yeah, so we have a pretty good sized family here, and so we had pretty big family gatherings in the area, and Thanksgiving was always just a huge gathering. We'd have like 20-30 people there, and so it was a big,
In this little rambler?
yeah, we one of the years my dad actually added on, it was probably about a 1,200 square foot deck on the back that was covered and heated, and that became the outdoor eating area for the Thanksgiving. And so became this huge outdoor space to
Just spread out.
accommodate everybody.
outside. Yeah, that's awesome. So big family gatherings were important. So Massoud, what is it? What's that name?
Yeah, so Egyptian background. My dad came to the United States July 7th, 1977.
Wow.
So, and he's been an awesome community member here and has his own business. So runs Harvey's Bike Shop here in Linwood. Been a fixture of the community for over 40 years now. So,
Wow. So you grew up in Mount Lake Terrace.
correct. Yep.
And what high school?
Yep. Mount Lake Terrace High School.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yep.
And what was it like growing up in that community?
It was great. I enjoyed this area, this community. I went to church just in Aurora Church of Nazarene, and then actually went to a Nazarene college after that. But loved this area, and I always have. I had a lot of friends in Edmonds, Mount Lake Terrace, Linwood area. So this is my tromping grounds from. Grew up with Double D Meats, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
It's still a staple in the community. And
Yeah. I've yet to go there. I keep, it's on my list to go to pick up meat for stuff, but I've just not been by there.
oh, it's awesome. It's the meat. It's like, over 1,000 different barbecue sauces and hot sauces and, all sorts
Why the
of
heck
stuff.
have I not been there?
And they make all their beef jerky and meat sticks, and
I might go there this afternoon.
it's good.
Go pick up some meat.
It's great.
Double D Meats in Mount Lake Terrace, right?
In Mount Lake Terrace. Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard about it.
It's a staple. It's been there. I don't know how long it's been there, but as long as I've been alive. So
Okay. So let's get into your journey into real estate. But
Sure.
before we get there, what did you do before real estate?
yeah. So right out of college, I went in and I worked for Walmart stores, and I worked myself up there, and I
Which
ended up-
Walmart?
So yeah, I started in Nampa, Idaho.
Oh,
so-
so how did you get to Nampa if you were
Yep.
at Mount Lake Terrace?
Yep. So like I said, I was at Nazarene Church. Ended up in a Nazarene college. Nazarene College is in Nampa, Idaho.
Gotcha.
And then right out of college, I got into an internship program there, and I spent. I was in the program for 1 year, and then I got promoted from that program.
I was gonna say you
And
failed
then-
out of the
Yeah.
Bible college. No.
Yeah. And then I met my wife there, and so we ended up staying in Nampa for about 15 years. I want to say.
Oh, wow.
Maybe 12 years, 12 to 15, somewhere in there. And so started the family, and then worked myself up. I went through many stores in that Idaho area. And then my first store manager position I took was in Cornelius, Oregon. And then I left Cornelius, Oregon, and I came up and I took Mount Vernon.
Okay.
So I took a step down and came up to Mount Vernon
Because you
So-
wanted to come back to the Northwest? Or
Yeah.
I guess Idaho's Northwest. So is Oregon. So but back
closer to family.
family. Okay. Got it. That makes sense.
Yep. And so we kind of picked a place that was kind of halfway between family and where I was working. And so that's
where you are now.
correct. I'm up
Which
in
is-
Smoky Point.
Smoky Point.
Yep.
Okay. So you're working at the Walmart in Mount Vernon.
Yep.
and some prompt. What happened?
Yeah. So it was kind of a two-step prompt. My dad had gotten diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and I needed to take some time off. And then right at the same time, Walmart was going through a restructure. And so they gave me an option, take this other position or take a severance package, which was all together. My severance was a little bit over a year worth of pay.
Okay.
And so I said, well, I can take a year off, spend that time with my dad.
Yeah.
And get my license. And I was like, I've always wanted to do something different.
Okay, wait. Yeah, let's pause there. So
Yeah.
obviously spending time with your dad, that was invaluable, right?
Yep. First 2 months, I didn't do anything, which was the first time in my life.
Yeah.
Like I started my first job when I was 14,
Oh,
Like,
okay. So the
on
first
pay.
time in your life where you just did nothing.
where I had no job. Yeah. And so I spent the first 2 months, I literally did nothing. And it was actually really healing for my body. I had woke up in pain for years. You're spending 12 to 15 hours on concrete. It's just it's different. So I just thought, it's because of my size, but it wasn't. It was really just because,
Being on a hard surface,
being on
standing.
a hard surface, standing 12 to 15 hours a day, just your body just is it's in a lot of pain. So I went through that healing process at the same time, was really bonding with my dad. And it was great, and it took him to all his appointments, spent time, went out to eat, and had just a really good time. And so, and so it's been great. And then at the same time, about a month or 2 months into that, I decided I wanted to get into real estate. So
Why real estate?
it's just always been like a side curiosity, passion. Just I figured it was another place where I could interact with consumers and I could give back to them in a way of helping them and guiding them. And I've always enjoyed that aspect of my job, even at Walmart.
I was going to say, what at Walmart did you bring over to real estate?
Yeah. So I look at it, and honestly, there's so many parallels that people don't realize between retail and real estate. And you're serving a consumer. Inside of Walmart, the disadvantage that you have is you're serving a consumer at a mass amount, so you don't get that interaction. And what I really craved, and what I realized was I craved that interaction with the individual. And when I needed a break from the chaos, I would go back and I would just sell in electronics. I would sell TVs, cameras, just anything that gave me that opportunity to have that one-on-one conversation with the client.
Right. So you were looking for more of that.
Correct.
And that's what you found in real estate.
Yeah. So I wanted an opportunity to educate and how I like educating. And so even inside of real estate, one of the things that I found is I like to educate other real estate agents as well. Right. So I like to educate. And so that's my passion, is the education aspect of it. And so that's what kind of led me in the end to this
career.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. Hey, clip that, by the way, for me. That's a feature of this technology. If I tell it that,
Oh, nice.
it'll give me a clip of that. So that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're sitting, you see the opportunity, you get your license, you get into the business, and it's really like a glorified educator and customer service. What kind of challenges did you face in the real estate business?
Yeah, I came in eyes wide shut. I had no idea. I was so ignorant when I got into the field. And I seriously thought I would get into a brokerage and they would have some sort of lead system and I would answer a phone call and go out and show a home and sell stuff. And I 100% believe that. And
you're not alone with that. A lot of people are have that expectation. So what did you do?
So I started with Ignite. It was starting just a couple weeks after I started here at Keller Williams. And I sat down next to a guy, his name was Billy. And a day after we started, I got a call at home and Billy essentially said, I don't know how to turn on my computer and you apparently can't make phone calls. So
we're a match in heaven.
So we made a pact that we would come in 5 days a week. And we would show up an hour before Ignite class started. And we would spend the first 15 to 20 minutes. I would help him on his computer, show him how to log things, show him how to make that. And he would And then we would make phone calls next to each other, and he would critique me. And then the first few of the phone calls, I had to pick him up from the ground. He was just laughing so hard.
Oh,
Because he had been doing phone calls most of his life. I had never done that. I've always been face to face with the client. So when I first got on the phone, I was like, "Hey, your listing expired. Do you want me to put it back on the market?" Like, just no introduction, no conversation.
Yeah.
And so we spent almost a year doing that. And Billy was really good on the phone calls. And what was funny was we realized we needed more of that mentorship and coaching, because we would make appointments and then have no idea what to do.
Oh, geez.
So we were good at being on the phone, and prior, he had a team that he would then give those clients over to. And so we just didn't realize. And so after time, working with coaches and so on and so forth.
Trial by fire. So, what I am hearing here is advice to new agents is learn, right?
Yeah.
But importantly, learn how to do a buyer presentation, seller presentation, learn the contracts.
Correct.
And
speed. I would say speed is the other thing.
Tell me about that.
I speed to contact.
Got it.
Is what I would say is, so one of the biggest first lessons I learned was, I was doing one of my very first open houses, probably 3 or 4 in, and everybody's telling me, like, you just, it's a long game in there. You're not going to, and well, here I am. It was one of my very first ones. I'm up in Arlington, and I show up, and I'm about a half an hour before I'm supposed to open the doors, and there's already a line outside of the house, and there's like 7 or 8 people waiting to come in. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And so I think on that we had close to 20 people in 2 hours. And in the middle of all that rush and excitement, there was a client, and she comes up to me, and she essentially just says, "We want to buy this house." Not represented, no agent, no nothing. And in my lack of knowledge, probably first few months in the game at this point, I was like, great, got her information. It was, I believe, a Saturday. It was like Monday or Tuesday, and I was waiting to talk to my coach. So there's no speed. There's just, okay, I'm going to hold on to this. As soon as I talk to my coach, I'm going to get back at it and get back to them. And it was a big loss. And so
because they went ahead and bought the house with somebody who could help.
They just moved on to another house.
Oh,
I could have been in that had I had that follow-up, but they just thought I was ghosting them. And so, and it was funny. Billy was right there beside me. He goes, "How was that $15,000 lesson?" And I go, and I started to think about it. I was like, "Oh, you son of a gun." So yeah, I think there's this idea that you can kind of wait, and there's a sense of urgency that I think ends up defeating a lot of people, because we think we're pestering people, but in reality, we're helping them get to their goals.
So when I look at newer agents coming into the market center, into our office, and I look at what we have to offer, what would you recommend they do in order to feel that confidence?
Can you repeat that one more time? Sorry.
Yeah. So new agents that come into the office, and like you were, and not having the knowledge, what would you recommend based on what we offer new agents do?
So the first thing, and what's really interesting, I don't know 100% sure you know this, Dan, but my daughter started the courses this week. Right?
Oh,
so
good.
Pretty excited. And so I'm literally giving her this information at the same time, which is kind of exciting. And really, when you go and you take your courses, you get taught the law, but the law has nothing to do with the forms. The forms are made by a different entity. They don't teach you about how to have the conversation. They don't teach you about any of that. They teach you about what legally you can and can't do.
Yeah.
As far as the rest of the construct, you're not taught about that. So the first thing is kind of a twofold. You got to get business. So you got to get in front of people. And so I think things like Ignite and Bold that are getting you out of your comfort zone right away, making phone calls.
That's like how to do the business from a lead generation standpoint and customer service standpoint.
Correct. And then I think then the second aspect is, and we can argue back and forth which one's more important. I think let's just say they're equally important, is how do you actually then fill out the forms and you do it in a legal way that's going to protect you and your clients. And so even like right now, even prior to getting licenses, one of the things I like is I'll tell new agents, getting classes. We have phenomenal classes with Brian as far as being able to understand what's happening. And there's always one of the crazy things is I think, we have new forms or updates to forms coming, every 6 months.
Yeah.
And so being aligned with somebody that can help us understand why they're making the changes they're making and be able to then communicate that to our clients. Because our clients get this, from the media, what's happening. And so they come to us and say, well, what does this mean? Like, I saw this on the news. And
Right.
not only just being able to like regurgitate it, but then really have a deep understanding with it and how that can affect, what you're doing, I think is really important. So.
Yeah, I think so. What you said there is two things, I believe, that we're talking about. Number one is literally knowing the contracts. That's number one. And the contracts that we use for helping people buy, sell, buyer representation, listing stuff. And, real estate is it's a solopreneur kind of adventure.
Correct.
Everybody is a solopreneur. Now we offer the classes, but we can't make you show up. We're not going to assign you to show up. You've got to show up and learn them and take it upon yourself, take ownership of that. Then the second one is knowing the market. That's what you said there. It's like, go look at the statistics. What are the common questions? I did a post today about ChatGPT, and we've got all this AI. Go in there and say, what are the most common questions buyers ask about the real estate buying process? And then go answer those questions. If you can't answer those questions, then you need to spend some time answering those questions so that when a friend, a colleague, or whatever comes, you can answer those questions.
Correct.
It's like,
I'll give you a really good example. That's kind of
perfect,
adjacent to what we're talking about. But first few years of my career was, as a market center tech trainer. And one of the first things that I did was I just went onto the KW forums, and my goal was like on Facebook and so on and so forth. And I just answered the questions. My goal was just to answer the questions because I knew if I could answer the questions across a larger platform, then I would have no problem answering the questions within my facility.
Oh, wow.
And so it's the same thing I look at is
So wait, what forum did you go to?
So I'd find groups like
real estate
groups. And I'd say, like, look at the issues that they're having and try to answer them. And if somebody already answered them, then I read it and understand where they're coming
that's
from.
great.
If I need to have another view on it, then I could offer another view. But it gave me a great opportunity to look at the questions that are coming up so that when I go to my clients that I have a higher attachment to, then I'm not, I have a better understanding of what's happening.
You know what I like about that, Haniel? Thanks for sharing that too, is you're getting 2 to 3 to 5, maybe 10 different agents' ways of approaching a problem.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's cool. That gives you a lot of diverse kind of, because there is no one way to answer many of those questions, maybe, but a septic system failed, blah, blah, blah. Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. What is a septic system? People used to be like so scared, like the poops just going in the backyard. It's like, no, it's not. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah. It gives you a lot of different ways of looking at it. And also gives you, not just a way of looking at it, but a different, you don't have to take somebody's entire idea, but there might be a nugget in there that like really is changing for you. Like so if we look at, some people really like to, still wet sign. So they want to take a paper contract, and some people really want to, sign with AuthentiSign or DocuSign or whatever it is.
Yeah.
One of the things that I found that I thought was just really great, which I picked up from another agent, was when you're doing the initial signing, is do it right in front of them electronically and have them open up their phone and do the signing. And it really, what became the aha with that is, because if you don't do that in front of them and later on they go, well, I just don't know how to do this. Like, well, let's jump over those hurdles now while I'm sitting in front of you, rather than later when I'm not around. And then I have to guess over the phone, well, is that button in the upper right hand corner? Is that there?
Right. And then you're like on the phone and you're like, all we need to do is sign this for mutual, and I can't get you to find the right button. Yeah.
Correct. So like while I'm in person, I love to send that over while I'm sitting in person. And then if they have an issue, I say, okay, show me your phone. Let's see what the issue is.
Yeah.
And so we can troubleshoot that. And then I know that they have that. It also builds their confidence that, hey, they're going to be able to do this when we're kind of up against the wall.
Yeah. I think that's great too. Okay, so you became our tech trainer, so deep into the technology. We won't go over that today, but then you left. Now you don't need to say where you went to, but you left somewhere, and then shortly after I got here, we talked, and you came back.
Correct.
And I want to just tell that story because a little bit. Why did you leave in the first place?
So I left because I was stepping out of that
Tech trainer role.
that tech trainer role, and part of it for me was I didn't want to get sucked back in. I made sure when I
needed
left
a clean
that-
break from.
correct. I
yeah.
needed a clean break from that at that moment, and I made sure when I talked with the ownership, I made it very clear that I was interested in coming back at a later time, potentially, and so I made sure that I was setting up those bridges.
But it was a
for
good
later
way
time.
to be able to separate you from the tech trainer here in the office to
Correct.
I'm now doing my own real estate.
Correct, because prior my door just spun, and so I really needed to make sure that I had an opportunity if I was stepping away from that source of income, that I would be able to set myself up for success in the future.
And
So,
what he means by door spun is, hey, you got a minute?
correct. I got a lot of hey, you got a minute. Now Dan gets mine.
Yeah, exactly. I get the got a minutes. Okay, so but ultimately, what happened to make you say, all right, I got to be back to a part of Keller Williams Bothell?
Well, there was really two portions, and I'll say the most important portion. It was community and who we are, who Keller Williams is as a whole.
Culture.
Culture, correct. Thank you. It really came down to that culture, and we were, I believe it was during that mudslides that they had back in the East Coast,
Western Carolinas. It was the hurricanes in Western Carolinas.
You know what?
Right?
I think I'm wrong. I think it was the fires. Either way, it was a major event that we had in the United
Got
States right at that time. And the organization I was at probably has, let's say, top 5 real estate head counts. And I couldn't find a single thing about like if anybody was doing donations or anything else. And I found on one of their big forum pages that was like everybody in the country, one agent herself that was coordinating, and there was only 2 or 3 other agents that were stepping in to help anything. And
right. So
at
now,
the same time,
for our listeners, let me kind of give
Yeah.
some background. Is we have an organization called KW Cares that
Yep.
is a 503c organization that partners with Keller Williams, where during closings we throw some money in the kitty. We contribute. We also here in this office will do fundraising events to raise funds for this. This organization is specifically there to fill needs for real estate agents. Since real estate agents are 1099, there's no unemployment, and there's very few safety nets for agents. What's even worse is hurricanes, mudslides, fires eliminates inventory for months.
Correct.
And impacts. So not only are you possibly without a home, and you have an incredible hardship, but your livelihood is gone. So our KW Cares comes alongside our agents and helps make them whole while they recover from these events. So we had that going on with the Palisades fires. We raised some funds, and you were out there looking around going, where are the other agents in our community helping
Correct.
agents?
And so what was interesting was I still hadn't, even though I had left KW at that time, my email was still getting forwarded. And so I kept seeing KW Cares emails come across, which was really interesting. And it was at that time, I want to say it was like 2 or 3 emails a week. Like, this is where we're at. This is our goal. We have the semi trucks going in with, the water and the generators and all that kind of stuff. And so, and at the exact same time, I have the emails from this new company that I'm at, and it's just radio silence. There's not a post about, hey, we're helping at a national level, we're helping at a local level, we're helping at nothing. And then I kind of had this like little aha moment. I'm like, well, let's just go look. And so I went and I searched for it, and I still couldn't find anything. And so I said, that's just not culturally where I line up.
Right.
And that was kind of the beginning of the end for me at that other organization.
Yeah. Then we brought you back. And now you are director of operations.
Correct.
For you say correct a lot, just so you know.
Oh, thank you.
I'm gonna count it on this podcast. You're like, so it makes me feel good because that means I'm right all the time.
Yeah,
Okay.
You are. Good job.
Tell us what you're currently doing.
So, director of operations for Infinity Ridge Properties, Ed Gillis. And so when I talk about the 2 different things, the second one was Ed. The day I left Keller Williams, Ed was out of the state, and I think he was coming back the next day, and he drove to my house. So
He's like, where did you go?
and asked me, he's like, look, I've always wanted to work with you. And honestly, what's funny is before I became an MCTT, I met with Ed about working with him, and it just wasn't the right time for me. And then when I left, and then so he came back, or he literally showed up. It's like, let's talk. And I'm like, I'm just not ready at this time. I need to make this break, but let's keep the lines of communication open. And so, and he would call me every month or two and have a conversation. And then eventually it just got to a point where I was like, yeah, it actually makes sense. And like that cultural aspect came back to me. And I was like, I really want to be back in that culture. I want to be back in that realm, and just everything kind of aligned. And now I've been doing that for more than month 13.
Awesome. And you guys are having a great year, and I'm sure things are taking off already this year. Just
we are
crazy.
Yeah.
All right. So if you were to define not only why you got in real estate, but why you stay in real estate, what is the defining thing for you?
So earlier I talked about like the health, and I didn't even realize, that it was what it was from being on that concrete for those long periods of times. But then it became a little bit of flexibility, and it became an opportunity to, spend time with my family. When I was working with Walmart, I'd always been a salaried. Outside of 1 year that I was with that company, I was salaried, and I was putting in probably 70 plus hours on average a week.
Wow.
So, I worked typically 7 a.m. to 10 or 11 p.m. And, my son at the time was essentially going, I want to say his second year of high school when I started real estate. And so it was an opportunity for me to not only spend time with my dad, but also spend time with my family.
Yeah.
So if I could manage doing this and having the life that I wanted to have in a certain amount of hours. So, for me, it wasn't like, hey, I want to go out and make $1 million. It was, I want to manage having the income that I want within the time frame that I want. That way I can maximize the time with my kids while they're still at home. Yeah. And so that was the very, the biggest goal. And
is to have the balance in life.
Is correct. Is to have this balance. And so that's why like I've stayed in it. And what's become really special over that time frame is I got back a lot of time with my family that I hadn't had prior. And I notoriously gave up a week of vacation almost every year just because I joked earlier today, matter of fact, which is funny, that my hobby was work. And it really has been. And for the people that are really close to it, I got a 3D printer, and I joke because now I have another hobby, which is kind of fun and nerdy.
Yeah, except for you make things for work.
Well, not for work, but for my office. Yes.
Yeah, for your office. Yeah, exactly. That's what you're doing.
So anyways, but I say that because having that time and being able to go to these events, I remember very vividly. I was still with Walmart, and they sent me to Phoenix because I was on this track to get into the role that I was in, and I had missed every one of my daughter's soccer games that year. And I was so angry because I had a flight set up, and the lady just saw the disappointment on my face. And when they came to tell me that I couldn't get on the plane, they brought 2 security guards. That's like, cause I'm a big guy anyway.
Yeah,
so like,
right.
Like, and I sometimes when I didn't yell, I didn't have anything. She just saw it on my face. And so she's like super apologetic. They gave me 2 first-class tickets and all this money, but I missed every game that year. And that sucks. That was just a few years before I made this transition. And it was just, I think that was the beginning of the aha, like, you're just not there for anything. And so this gave me the opportunity now with, she was a year behind my son. And so as she started high school and was in soccer and cheerleading and all these things, I was able to be there and be present for a lot more things. And then, my other daughter that did track and wrestling and cross country, being able to be present was a huge deal. And so that was important to me.
Awesome. Well, Haniel, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to share your insights and thoughts. I really appreciate it. It was fun.
Thank you, Dan. This was fun.
Cool.